Release photos stand out for their sheer weirdness, like these images of a room with a dental chair and masks of men's faces on the wall. We don't know why Epstein had a dental chair or dental equipment in his home, but at the time of his death, his girlfriend was reportedly a 30-year-old licensed dentist. Congressman Robert Garcia is a Democrat of California, the ranking member of the Oversight Committee, which made these photos public, and he joins me now. All right, Congressman, can you just walk us through what was released today and what their origins are, how they got to the committee?
Right. So late last night, we actually received about 5,000 documents, videos, and photos. And this is a combination of documents essentially and photos from the U.S. Virgin Islands, the government, and also additional documents and bank records from J.P. Morgan as well as Deutsche Bank. Now, those records we are still processing and certainly hope to release in the near future what we can. But what you're seeing right now are essentially videos and photographs taken by officials in the U.S. Virgin Islands of the estate on the island. And these, of course, many of these photos and pictures have obviously never been seen before. We have redacted essentially names and information that we think obviously connect survivors. But it's really disturbing stuff. And what we have said from day one as oversight Democrats is any information that we receive, whether that's from the Virgin Islands, from banks, from the Epstein estate, like when we got the birthday book or the emails that we released a couple of weeks ago, we're going to put that out to the American public. We know that the DOJ is not interested in transparency or the truth. They are leading a cover-up. So whenever we get information that can broaden the picture of who Jeffrey Epstein was and his horrific crimes against children and women, we're going to put that forward, and that's what we did today.
You mentioned the financial records, which I think a lot of people have interest in, and Ron Wyden has been talking about a bit, and I think maybe had seen some versions of them. So obviously that's more sensitive material. I imagine there's some vetting there, but your anticipation is that that will be publicly released and searchable as well?
That's our plan. I mean, right now, we just received the materials last night, and it's pretty complex information. Obviously, we know, and we've heard this directly from the survivors, to follow the money. There was an enormous amount of money that was essentially being transferred from individuals to Jeffrey Epstein, to his criminal enterprise, to Ghislaine Maxwell. And there are reports that some of this money could have been connected to other foreign governments. And so where that money went, who was involved, what shell companies were being set up, the money laundering that was happening, which we know was actually part of the case that prosecutors brought to then U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, who of course becomes a cabinet secretary for Donald Trump later on. There was a lot there. And we know that the information could actually lead us to the powerful men that raped and abused women. And so for us, that information is critical. I'll also note, Chris, that the information we got from the banks is just some of the documents. We expect to get a lot more information from Deutsche Bank and from J.P. Morgan in the future, and hope to get more information from 20 additional banks that we've requested information from.
There's an item in the Washington Post today about the senators who were writing to Pam Bondi as we approach basically the halfway mark on the 30-day ticking time clock on the release, asking Bondi to brief them by Friday on any new evidence, information, or procedural hurdles that could interfere with the department's ability to meet the deadline, which requires the administration to release the files by December 19th. You just said you believe they're engaged in a cover-up. Are you confident they're going to produce what they're legally required to produce in the 30-day window?
I'm not. And I'm not confident in it because they've had months to do so. We have a subpoena on the same exact documents through the Oversight Committee.
Tonight, we're getting an inside look at some of the rooms in Jeffrey Epstein's notorious home on a private Caribbean island where underage girls and young women were trafficked and sexually abused. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released these photos as well as videos they say have not been made public before. One of the images shows what appears to be a dentist chair in one room with masks on a wall. Another shows a blackboard with some words scribbled on it: power, deception, plots, political. There's also this video showing the manicured grounds of the estate with palm trees and winding paths and a large pool. The Department of Justice has 16 days before they have to release documents related to its investigation of Epstein, as required by the bill that Congress passed and President Trump recently signed into law. Now, we learned today that Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, is planning to file a petition that asking a judge to release her from prison. She's serving a 20-year sentence for her sex trafficking conviction. Joining us tonight, California Congressman Ro Khanna, member of the Oversight Committee, who along with Republican Congressman Thomas Massie led the fight to pass that bill, forcing the release of the Epstein files. So, Congressman, I mean, do these video images fill in any blanks for you, raise any new questions? I'm wondering what stands out to you.
Well, the dentist chair was concerning to me. Obviously, we need to know the facts, but what we need to know is, were underage girls abused on that chair? What happened there? What we do know from the survivors is there are many such photos in the Epstein files. We know that from the survivors and their lawyers. All of those need to be released. Every file, every photo, every interview memorandum, while protecting victims, need to be released by federal law in the next 16 days.
And do you expect, I mean, do you know what to expect in 16 days in terms of what level of redaction there's going to be? Have you gotten any word from the Department of Justice how they are handling this?
Congressman Massie and I have requested to meet with Attorney General Pam Bondi or someone on her team handling the investigation. So far, we have not heard back. We're going to continue to pursue it. Of course, Congressman Massey is on the Judiciary Committee, so Pam Bondi will be coming before that committee. But now every person at the Justice Department who does not cooperate in releasing these files would be violating federal law, that they would be subject to federal penalties. So we expect that there will be a release, and we're going to continue to fight to make sure that it is transparent and complete.
Your committee says it's also received about 5,000 documents in response to subpoenas to J.P. Morgan, Deutsche Bank for Epstein's financial records. I don't know how much of those the committee's been able to review, but do they, I mean, what do you hope to find in those documents? Does anything connect any dots for you?
Well, the committee is going through that. There are a lot of documents, but the big question is, how is Jeffrey Epstein, a former school teacher, worth $500 million? Who is funding him? Why are people giving him this money? And what was he doing for this money? Those are things that we're going to get from these documents. As you know, Senator Wyden has been investigating this in the Senate for over a year. That is going to be critical to understanding who all was involved.
We've talked about Ghislaine Maxwell planning to ask a judge to release her from prison, according to a new court filing. What do you think the chances of that actually are, given the unknowns of, you know, the interview she had with President Trump's former personal attorney, who's now, you know, a high level of the Department of Justice? What do you think is going to happen there?
It would be a slap in the face of the survivors. Anderson, as you imagine, I've gotten to know some of these survivors. I've spent time with them. When you mention Ghislaine Maxwell's name, they have a trauma and an anger. This is someone who abused them. This is someone who facilitated their abuse. The fact that we're even discussing any leniency for her or letting her out of jail is frankly disgusting. And the survivors themselves get so emotional when people bring up Maxwell.
A House Oversight Committee spokesperson earlier today, criticized Democrats on the committee, your committee, for releasing these videos and photos, saying, quote, "It is odd that Democrats are once again releasing selective information as they have done before." I'm wondering what your response to that is.
Let's release it all. That's what Massie and my bill does. If you don't think there's anything there, get the files out. If you think it's selective, get the files out. Let's finally get the information out there, most importantly because of the 1,000 survivors, and that's what they want. And so we end this kind of blame game and name calling. Let's just get it all out there in the next 16 days.
Ironic that in many ways, without doing much, Bill Clinton sort of got revenge on Trump when it comes to their shared connection to Jeff Epstein. Because for years, for the better part of a decade, going all the way back to 27, for almost a decade now, there's been so much more discussion because the right's been obsessed with this issue until it no longer served them, in making this Clinton, Hillary, and Bill ties to the island and what happened there. And look, I'm not defending Bill Clinton. I actually think he and Trump are probably a lot more similar on this particular thing than either Bill or Trump would admit. But it is sort of ironic that they made it a Bill Clinton issue since at least 2017, whatever it was, going back earlier. And then all of a sudden, no one's talking about it with Bill. The only time Bill came in the story directly was in that rumor about what he and Trump may have done, or specifically what Trump, maybe on his knees, did to him under a desk, allegedly, with the pants down, allegedly, and things, allegedly. Read in the comments. People will fill in what allegedly may have happened. But it's kind of telling that the scandals aren't really hitting Bill right now. And I think part of this is because Republicans misplayed. And this is not good for Bill. Bill is winning in the sense that he's not the main focus anymore. But, you know, the real blow for Republicans is that, you know, they assumed, oh, Democrats will never do anything about this because they want to protect their glorious Bill and Hillary Clinton. They want to protect Bill and Hill. And no, we don't. Progressives, Democrats, no. Frankly, a lot of progressives despise the Clintons for how they helped bring America to the right and helped legitimize Reagan's legacy by bringing the Democratic Party to the right. But more than that, most Democrats, even if they are fans of the Clinton legacy broadly defined, don't think they're above the law. So Democrats have been clear. If Bill's guilty, lock him up. If Trump's guilty, lock him up. Republicans are the only ones saying we only want to lock up the other side.